Hello everyone, welcome to Sleep Space. Tonight we will talk about what happens when you dream, and what if in that moment something extraordinary occurs. What if each dream you experience doesn't just vanish into the depths of your mind, but actually gives birth to something real, a new universe branching out from your subconscious. You dream every night, even if you don't remember it. On average, the human brain produces between 4 to 6 dreams per sleep cycle, according to the Sleep Foundation. That means by the time you reach 80 years old, you will have experienced around 175,000 dreams, each one lasting from a few fleeting seconds to more than half an hour. Now imagine if every one of those dreams wasn't just a neural simulation inside your head, but a seed, a spark igniting its own reality. To entertain that idea, you first have to understand what happens inside your brain when you dream. During REM sleep, your brain lights up almost as vividly as when you're awake. The limbic system, responsible for emotion and memory, becomes highly active, while the prefrontal cortex, the part that grounds you in logic and linear thinking, quiets down. This shift allows imagination to roam without boundaries. In essence, your mind creates entire worlds without the interference of reason. Science already knows that dreaming is a simulation, a mental reality constructed by your brain. But what if that simulation is more than internal? Quantum theory tells us that reality itself is probabilistic, not fixed. Every event, down to the movement of a single particle, exists in a state of possibilities until observed. Some physicists, like Hugh Everett, took this idea to its most extreme conclusion, the many worlds interpretation, suggesting that every possible outcome of a quantum event actually occurs in a separate universe. If that's true, then your dreams could represent branching realities within this infinite web of probabilities. Imagine this. When you dream of flying over an endless ocean, or meeting a version of yourself who made different choices, those aren't just random creations of your imagination. They might be glimpses into quantum realities that split off from your consciousness. Every dream could be a universe shaped by your perception, no less real than this waking one, but existing on a different frequency. Your brain emits electromagnetic fields that synchronize with neural activity patterns. During REM sleep, those fields become chaotic yet structured, a signature of complex system behavior. Some researchers propose that consciousness itself could be a quantum process occurring within the microtubules of neurons, as theorized by physicist Roger Penrose and anesthesiologist Stuart Hameroff. If consciousness operates at the quantum level, then each time your awareness shifts, such as when you enter a dream, the state of your mind could be entangling with other potential versions of reality. Now, this isn't established science. It's a frontier of speculation, where neuroscience meets cosmology. But the numbers are staggering. The observable universe contains an estimated 2 trillion galaxies, each with billions of stars and even more planets. If reality can branch infinitely at the quantum level, there could be more universes than atoms in our own cosmos. Against such scale, the idea that each dream could give rise to another universe no longer feels impossible. It feels almost inevitable. When you dream, your brain becomes a universe maker in miniature. Inside your skull, billions of neurons fire in patterns so complex that even supercomputers can't fully simulate them. A single neuron can make up to 10,000 connections with others. During REM sleep, these connections rearrange and strengthen, forming what scientists call neural plasticity, the ability of your brain to rewire itself. But what if those new configurations don't only reshape your mind, but shape new realities as well? Think of every dream as a story told by your subconscious. Yet in the quantum framework, stories aren't merely symbolic, they could be blueprints. In quantum mechanics, information is never destroyed. Every possible state of matter continues to exist, even if it's unobserved. If consciousness interacts with quantum fields, then your dream imagery, the landscapes, people, emotions, might encode information that branches out into the structure of space-time itself. You might wonder, can thoughts really affect reality? In laboratory experiments, this question has been approached cautiously. The observer effect in quantum physics shows that particles behave differently when measured, suggesting that observation influences physical systems. In 1998, researchers at Princeton's Peer Lab ran millions of tests with random number generators, trying to see if human intention could subtly alter statistical outcomes. Across all data, they found small but significant deviations, around 0.1%, enough to suggest that consciousness might have a measurable, though tiny, influence on randomness. Now imagine dreams as the most intense state of unconscious imagination, the mind unchained from external input. If waking thought can nudge the probabilities of quantum events, could dreaming consciousness do more? In dreams, your sensory system shuts off, and your internal models of reality take over completely. It's the perfect closed experiment, a universe made entirely from within. The philosopher William James once described consciousness as a stream, a continuous flow that can change direction but never stops. If your waking reality is one current of that stream, perhaps dreams are other channels flowing alongside, forming tributaries that diverge into separate worlds. Modern cosmology already considers the multiverse as a serious possibility. According to a 2019 study in Nature Physics, Inflation Theory, the rapid expansion after the Big Bang implies that countless bubble universes could exist beyond our observable horizon. Each might have different physical constants, timescales, or even laws of mathematics. If such universes exist, what determines their birth? Some theories say random quantum fluctuations, others point to wave function collapses. But what if consciousness, through dreaming, is another mechanism of branching reality? When you imagine a world vividly enough that it feels real, that act could correspond to a quantum event on the cosmic scale, the splitting of probabilities into a distinct, self-consistent realm. In this view, dreams are not illusions, but acts of creation. You may never witness the universes you form. They drift away, self-contained and inaccessible. Yet each one carries your fingerprint. Perhaps somewhere, a version of you is waking from that dream, believing this world was the illusion. Statistically, the human brain processes around 34 gigabytes of data every day from sensory input, memory, and imagination. During REM sleep, nearly all that energy is redirected inward. Brain scans show a 30% increase in activity in the visual cortex compared to waking life. It's as though your brain becomes a high-powered projector, running simulations so rich they could rival physical experience. So when you dream of walking through ancient cities or flying through endless light, maybe you're not only imagining, maybe you're imprinting those images into the very code of existence, writing new branches of reality into the cosmic equation. The deeper you drift into a dream, the more it feels real. You don't just see the world, you inhabit it. You can feel the texture of the air, the pull of gravity, the heat of sunlight that doesn't actually exist. Your mind constructs entire environments with their own physics, colors, sounds, and emotional weight. Scientists call this neural realism, the brain's ability to simulate sensory experience so precisely that it becomes indistinguishable from the external world. In that moment, your consciousness accepts the dream as its only reality. Now consider what that means on a cosmic level. If within your mind a complete, self-consistent reality can be generated, why couldn't that same process occur beyond you? The boundary between mental and physical may not be as solid as we assume. Some physicists, like John Wheeler, proposed that reality itself is participatory, that the universe exists because it is observed. He famously summarized it as it from bit, suggesting that the physical universe is fundamentally made from information, not matter. If that's true, then a dream, which is also an information-based phenomenon, could be just as real, only stored or expressed in a different layer of existence. You might wonder, if every dream creates a universe, where do these universes go? To answer that, we have to step into the mathematics of possibility. Quantum cosmology proposes that universes don't occupy the same space as ours. They exist as separate wave functions in the greater multiverse. Each is a unique configuration of energy and probability, evolving independently. When you dream, your consciousness temporarily detaches from the physical network of sensory input and becomes its own self-contained system. In that instant, your mental state could correspond to a new wave function, branching off from your waking one. There's an eerie parallel here in neuroscience. A study published in Nature Communications in 2020 found that during lucid dreams, when you realize you're dreaming, parts of the brain responsible for self-awareness and decision-making reignite. EEG scans showed complex synchronization between frontal and parietal regions, forming what scientists call a coherent oscillatory network. Essentially, a second level of awareness wakes up within the dream. The brain holds two realities at once, one physical, one mental. What if that dual awareness reflects a real overlap between worlds? Some physicists believe reality is structured like a fractal, infinitely repeating patterns nested within larger ones. Your brain, with its branching neurons, mirrors that same geometry. The shape of neural networks resembles the cosmic web of galaxies when viewed from a large enough scale. Statistically, the distribution of neurons in the brain and galaxies in the universe both follow a clustering coefficient of around 0.7, a similarity so precise it has puzzled both astrophysicists and neuroscientists. If consciousness and cosmos share the same architecture, perhaps the act of dreaming is the microcosm echoing the macrocosm, the mind reenacting creation itself. There's also the question of memory. Dreams fade quickly, but if each dream births a universe, then memory might be the tether that decides whether a new world stays connected to your awareness or drifts away completely. In 2017, researchers at the University of Wisconsin found that during REM sleep, synaptic connections in the brain shrink slightly, about 18% smaller than during waking hours, suggesting the brain is resetting, letting go of excess information. Perhaps this pruning isn't just a mental process, but a separation, cutting your awareness from the new universes you've just formed. In that sense, forgetting a dream might not mean it's gone. It might mean it's become independent. Like a child leaving home, the dream no longer needs you to exist. It carries on somewhere else, built from your imagination, but now evolving under its own laws. You, the dreamer, become both the parent and the distant observer of infinite offspring universes. Let's imagine for a moment that the act of dreaming truly is a form of creation. What would that make you? Not just a passenger through consciousness, but an artist working on the canvas of existence itself. Every night, without effort, you generate experiences so detailed they rival the waking world. Your subconscious is like a cosmic laboratory, experimenting with physics, emotions, and storylines. Some dreams are chaotic, some are serene, each one a unique configuration of meaning and form. If you think of the universe as information, then every thought, every dream, becomes an expression of that code. Physicist Max Tegmark calls this the mathematical universe hypothesis. The idea that the cosmos is not made of matter, but of mathematics. Reality, in this view, is a pattern, and everything that can exist does exist as a mathematical structure. Your dreams, then, are temporary structures created by your brain's computations, fleeting worlds that could, under the right conditions, take on autonomous reality in the grand multiversal fabric. Now consider how much energy your brain uses to sustain those inner worlds. Even though you're asleep, your brain consumes about 20% of your body's total energy, roughly the same as when you're awake. That's an astonishing amount for an organ that weighs less than 3 pounds. Each dream requires immense neural coordination, a ballet of electrochemical activity that produces vivid landscapes, characters, and emotions. You could say that every night the energy that would have gone into movement, speech, and awareness of the external world is redirected inward, into simulation. Statistically, an average dream lasts about 10 minutes, but because time perception changes during REM sleep, it can feel much longer. Some lucid dreamers report experiences that seem to last for hours or even days. If the mind can stretch subjective time, then it's theoretically operating within its own temporal framework. Another clue that the dream state could represent a separate space-time dimension, one that follows its own laws. Physicists have long considered time as relative, not absolute. Einstein showed that time bends depending on speed and gravity. In dreams, the brain's perception of time seems to bend too. Neurologically, this happens because the parietal lobes, responsible for tracking time, are less active during REM sleep. But what if that's not just a quirk of biology? What if that subjective distortion mirrors how time behaves differently across universes? In 2021, a team of researchers in Germany communicated with lucid dreamers in real time by asking them math questions while they were asleep. Remarkably, about 18% of participants could respond correctly using predetermined eye movements, proving that consciousness remains active and capable of logic even within dreams. That experiment suggests that your dreaming mind can coexist in two cognitive states at once, asleep and aware, detached and participatory. It's a form of dual existence, like a particle existing in two places at once. Quantum theory describes something similar: superposition. A particle doesn't have a definite state until it's measured. It exists in multiple potential states simultaneously. When you dream, your awareness might also enter a kind of superposition, existing both in this reality and in the one you're creating. Each dream collapse could be a moment when consciousness selects one branch, giving it substance. You might wonder how this connects to emotion, the driving force behind so many dreams. Neuroscientists have found that the amygdala, the emotional center of the brain, is more active during REM sleep than when you're awake. That means dreams are charged with feeling, and emotion itself could act as the energy that solidifies these internal realities. After all, even in waking life, emotion changes perception. It makes moments feel more real, more vivid, more permanent. If emotion can reshape how you perceive this world, perhaps it can also stabilize the ones you create in dreams. Imagine billions of humans dreaming each night, around 8 billion people, generating perhaps 40 billion dreamscapes in just one 24-hour period. Across time, that's trillions upon trillions of dreams, potential universes, blooming into existence and fading into the invisible. What if all of those inner worlds, taken together, form a cosmic network, a living ecosystem of consciousness, endlessly generating new realms of possibility? If dreams create universes, then what happens to those worlds after you wake up? Do they dissolve the moment your consciousness withdraws, or do they continue evolving beyond you? Science doesn't have the tools to answer that directly, but physics, philosophy, and even information theory offer intriguing possibilities. One concept worth exploring is self-containment, the idea that once a system has enough complexity and rules, it can sustain itself. In computer science, a simulation with sufficient feedback loops can generate emergent behavior, outcomes that weren't programmed but arise naturally from interaction. The famous game of life invented by mathematician John Conway is a perfect example. It's a simple grid of pixels that follow only 4 basic rules, yet it can produce stable structures, motion, even what some call digital organisms. Now imagine your dreams not as abstract stories, but as systems with billions of interwoven details, social dynamics, physics, geography, even weather. Your subconscious is powerful enough to maintain these rules without your awareness. If you can create self-sustaining patterns in your mind, could those patterns become stable enough to exist independently once you awaken? According to complexity science, systems that reach a critical threshold of informational density can achieve autonomy. In 2014, researchers from the Santa Fe Institute published studies showing that networks, from neurons to ecosystems, evolve toward greater complexity when energy flows through them efficiently. Dreams rich with neural energy and narrative structure could represent temporary networks that reach this threshold for brief moments. In theory, a sufficiently coherent dream world might lock in as its own information state, a small parallel universe that continues without you. If that sounds impossible, consider that physicists already propose something similar for our own reality. The concept of the cosmic wave function suggests that our universe exists as a stable solution in a vast field of possible configurations. It's self-consistent. It doesn't need an external observer to maintain its structure. Your dreams might be smaller echoes of that same principle, ephemeral universes that briefly achieve stability before slipping beyond your perception. What makes this idea even more haunting is that dreams sometimes predict, mirror, or influence waking life. Studies have shown that nearly 60% of people have experienced dreams that seem to align with future events. While science attributes this to coincidence and selective memory, quantum physicists have noted that entangled systems can exchange information instantaneously, even across distance. If consciousness has any quantum properties, and some researchers believe it does, then the boundary between your dreams and reality might be more porous than it seems. The late physicist David Bohm proposed that the universe operates under two layers: the explicate order, which is the visible, measurable reality, and the implicate order, a deeper level where everything is connected in ways we can't perceive. Dreams might be windows into that implicate order, moments when your mind interacts directly with the deeper, interconnected field of existence. In that field, perhaps all realities, dreams, thoughts, and worlds are just variations of one infinite whole. This perspective reframes consciousness entirely. You're not a small observer trapped inside a body. You're part of a vast network of reality-making consciousness, weaving new threads each night. Every dream you have, every image you conjure, could be contributing to the ongoing evolution of existence itself. From a statistical view, there's an estimated 7.5 sextillion grains of sand on Earth, yet if every dream you've ever had became a world, your personal number of universes would already exceed that by orders of magnitude. You are a creator on a cosmic scale without even trying. Maybe this is why dreams have always fascinated humanity, from ancient Egyptians who believed dreams were portals to other realms, to modern theories that treat them as simulations of alternate lives. The truth might lie somewhere in between. Perhaps dreams are indeed other lives, just not within the same continuum of time and space. When you awaken, your dreams dissolve like mist, retreating into the ungraspable space between memory and imagination. But if every dream creates a new universe, then nothing you dream is ever truly lost. Each image, every fleeting emotion, may have unfolded into something larger, something ongoing. You return to your waking world, but somewhere, another version of you may still be walking through that golden forest, still flying over that endless sea, still speaking to that person who felt so familiar yet impossible to name. Sleep, then, is more than rest. It's participation in a universal process, a nightly act of creation. Around the world, as billions of minds drift into unconsciousness, each one begins to sculpt its own reality. That collective dreaming might form a kind of cosmic ecosystem, infinite realities blooming like galaxies from the soil of consciousness. Neuroscience tells us that your brain never truly shuts off. Even in deep sleep, neural circuits flicker with low-frequency activity, maintaining vital rhythms that regulate the body. But during REM sleep, the pattern shifts. Electrical signals in your visual cortex surge, emotional centers ignite, and your brain begins to create. In that state, you are both the observer and the creator, a universe becoming aware of itself, and maybe that's what consciousness really is, the universe reflecting, dreaming, and remembering itself through countless forms. You are one of those forms, a being who dreams not just within the cosmos, but perhaps as the cosmos. Statistically, if every human dreams multiple times each night, that's roughly 30 billion dreams forming every 24 hours. Imagine if each of those dreams corresponded to a new branch of existence. In a single week, humanity alone would produce more universes than there are stars in the observable sky. It's an unprovable hypothesis, but also a breathtaking one. A reminder that the line between imagination and creation might be thinner than we think. Dreams are the closest thing we have to creation from nothing. You close your eyes and entire worlds appear. There are no blueprints, no materials, only thought. Yet somehow you experience gravity, emotion, sound, light. The fact that this can happen inside the human mind suggests that reality itself might operate on the same principle. The universe, too, may have begun as a kind of dream, a quantum fluctuation in the void that became aware of itself and began to expand. When you lie in bed tonight and slip into that familiar darkness, remember, your mind doesn't disappear. It transitions into a different mode of being, one that has shaped art, science, myth, and perhaps reality itself. You're not escaping the universe when you sleep. You're contributing to it. And when morning comes and you open your eyes to this world again, perhaps somewhere in one of those unseen realms your dreams have created, another you is just beginning to wake, wondering if this life too might be a dream.